Hey, I'm Gory B Movie.
I'm Danny Nightmare.
And we are horror addicts. And today we are going to be explaining the ending to It.
Probably shouldn't have to tell you this, but spoilers?
There will be.
We're going to be talking about the ending of It, Chapter 1, the new movie.
So a brief recap on what happened at the ending of the movie It. The losers go into the sewers and Pennywise does this crazy dance and turns into all these creatures to try and scare them. And they're like, "We're not afraid of you, bitch." And then he crumbles up, he falls into the well. Then the losers regroup outside and make a pact that if Pennywise comes back in 27 years, they're gonna come back too and kick his clowny ass. So one of the first things we want to explain is Pennywise's final word before he disappears down the well.
Fear.
Now we know that Pennywise eats fear. That's why he traumatizes these children with the things that scare them the most. Because it's like salting the meat, it makes them taste better.
Yummy. Before he takes the plunge, he utters the word fear with a disillusioned look on his face as he starts to dissolve.
So why is he so bewildered? It's because Pennywise has never been afraid before. He eats fear for breakfast. Which begs the question, what does Pennywise, this literal killer clown from outer space, have to be afraid of? Well, for starters, starvation. Pennywise hibernates for 27 years at a time, so he's hungry and he's gonna need to eat a lot to fuel up for his next slumber.
And in this movie especially, when Pennywise is on screen looking at the children, he is salivating and just licking his lips. But the kids stood up to him, and they showed no fear. Therefore, he's gonna go to bed hungry, possibly even starving.
Sucks to be Pennywise. Now, one of the biggest departures from the book and the miniseries is that Pennywise's victims, including Beverly, really do float. The losers find the missing children suspended in mid-air in the sewers, bringing a terrifying new meaning to the phrase, "You'll float too."
So are they dead or alive? What's the deal?
Here's my theory. If you watch the miniseries or have read the book, you know that Pennywise is actually this giant spider. Anticlimactic, I know. But in this form, he behaves like a spider, wrapping up his prey to save it for later.
He goes back and chews on him, kind of like a dog gnawing on a bone.
So what does that mean for the kids at the end of the movie? Well, if we go by what we saw happen to Beverly, these kids have seen the deadlights.
It's not easy to come back from the deadlights. Bill manages to save his wife Audra when he's an adult. He pulls her body down from the webs, and she had saw the deadlights, and it wasn't easy to snap her back into her old self.
But she was alive, just as Beverly was at the end of the 2017 adaptation.
And I think that has a lot to do with how long they've been down there. Both Beverly and Audra were pulled back out of the deadlights, but they weren't there very long. Pennywise had just abducted them.
So depending on how long they've been up there and how much Pennywise has bit off of them, a few of those kids might still be alive.
Kind of like batteries being sucked dry, like in the Matrix, but once they've been sucked dry so much, I don't think there's any coming back. It's a lot of kids being sucked dry.
Another thing that should be explained is at the end of the movie, we already see that Beverly is preparing to move to Oregon to live with her aunt, and all the kids seem to be going their separate ways.
Which follows suit to both the book and the miniseries.
There's a whole other layer of flipping weird in the book that involves the turtle, who's essentially a god. He burped up the universe after a bout of indigestion. He's also a foil for Pennywise, who's more of an interdimensional demon than a clown. I know, the book is flippin' weird. But remember, this was written during the 80s when Stephen King did a lot of drugs.
In the book, one of the ways they kind of explain this is they have a fort underground where they go down there and smoke themselves out to hallucinate. The only two that have the vision is Mike and Richie, where they find out about the turtle and Pennywise it being from a different dimension.
Now what we learn in the book is that the losers didn't meet by chance. The turtle has brought them all together. Everything from their families moving to Derry to their meeting and becoming friends was all pre-arranged by the turtle. He has chosen these kids sort of like Zordon chose the Power Rangers, only instead of fighting Rita Repulsa, they're fighting Pennywise, and instead of awesome mechs, they have an asthma inhaler and a slingshot. The turtle believes that these kids have what it takes to do what no one has done before and defeat Pennywise for good. This is why after the losers have served their purpose and defeated Pennywise at the end of the film, they begin to drift apart. In fact, they won't see each other again until they return to Derry 27 years later as adults. Another thing that certainly left us puzzled is the fight between Mike Hanlon and Henry Bowers.
It's a lot different than the miniseries in the book. This ends with Mike shoving Henry down a well that's gotta be over 100 feet deep. I don't know how he's gonna survive that.
But if Chapter 2 is going to be anything like the book or the miniseries, we know that Henry Bowers will survive.
He was very instrumental in both the miniseries and the book, as he was the one that was blamed for all the murders, only to be locked away in a loony bin.
Then, when Pennywise awakens 27 years later, he frees Henry from the mental asylum and sicks him on the losers. So chances are good that we haven't seen the last of Henry Bowers and that he'll play an instrumental role in Chapter 2. Now, obviously we don't have all the answers. These are just conclusions we've drawn from reading the book and seeing the miniseries, so we would love to hear your guys' interpretations on these thoughts and more.
We also can't wait to see who plays these kids, but that's gonna be our next video. So come back and check that out soon.
Thanks for watching.
Cut! But since he failed to eat these children, since he failed to swallow these children, it's a lot of kids being sucked dry.